I love working at Laugh Lab.
I can't imagine doing anything other.
The best part about this job is seeing the turnaround in the way people approach life.
What is different than the person I once was that now I believe in a future.
It brings your self-esteem back, which it was taken away.
It's an amazing thing to see that transformation.
That's the greatest satisfaction that we get.
And that's an opportunity that you have when you work with Laugh Lab.
My name is Fatima Mohammed. I came from southern Somalia, East Africa.
So in Somalia in 1991, the regime toppled. The rebel soldiers entered the house of her family, and when her brother tried to protect her and her mother, the soldiers took up their rifles and simply shot him dead in front of her.
My 4-year-old, he remembers seeing a family member who close to you bleeding to death.
And only about 6 months later, another group of rebel forces entered her home and violently threw her on the floor and began to physically batter her and assault her.
You're tortured through rape, through abuse, physically beat up.
The entire time she was trying to keep quiet so that her children wouldn't be too traumatized by her screaming.
You can't do anything, you just have to bear with it just to survive that torture.
In order to get to Kenya, she had to get onto a boat with hundreds of other people. They were throwing people overboard, people who couldn't pay.
We were starved, we were tired. Some lost their children and they didn't want to let go. You're told the baby is dead. With me, I was scared. I didn't want even to look.
And she finally was able to make it to a refugee camp in Kenya. But unfortunately, the terror did not end in Kenya.
The locals were torturing us, stealing from us. At night, they beat us because we've taken their space.
And in addition to that, the domestic violence, which had begun already in Somalia, started escalating.
I took custody of 4 sons.
And she decided to come to the United States of America.
She was seeking asylum as a torture survivor, but also as a survivor of domestic violence.
When I had applied before, I was denied.
She didn't know what her rights were. She didn't even know who to turn to.
If I'd gone back to Somalia now, I can be killed.
I joined the military when I was about 21 years old. I'm a child of immigrants from Mexico.
During the first 6 weeks, she was in boot camp, as everybody is when they first go into the military. And one evening, while she was patrolling at night, somebody pulled her into a dark stairwell.
I was raped in the service, in boot camp. I tried to report it.
She didn't follow the proper protocol when she went to report the rape. And instead of listening to her, her superior officer actually ordered her to do push-ups on the floor.
After I tried to report it, and I wasn't listened to, I hid it. I wanted to forget about it.
She really buried herself into her work to try to bury the feelings that she was experiencing.
So when I got out of the service, it was very difficult to maintain this pretty package.
Her life just fell into shambles.
The worst harm for me was not being able to share with my family. Since also this was my first sexual experience, I felt a lot of shame about it, and I thought that my family would find out and I would be ostracized.
She became disengaged from her family members and friends.
I thought I was crazy. My ex-husband left me. I wasn't able to work. I couldn't function in school.
To becoming literally homeless on the street.
And to this day, I'm not the same person that I was before I joined the service.
But she was able to get herself together enough to apply in 2003 to the VA for benefits for the PTSD, or the post-traumatic stress disorder.
6 months later, I was denied.
They said, you can't prove to us that you were actually raped in service, so we are not going to give you benefits.
I tried to do it again a couple years later.
And again, the VA said, sorry, Maricela, but you can't prove that you were raped.
It was not the denial of the claim that was more traumatic. For me, it was a denial that this ever happened to me. And, you know, I gave up. And I decided to take my life.
Her family found her. They called the ambulance. She was sent off.
My mother broke down in tears. And she was begging me not to close my eyes because she was afraid that, I wouldn't wake up.
And this last suicide attempt changed her life.
When people do not have access to justice, they lose faith in their government, they lose faith in society, and the whole system breaks down.
The Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is the frontline law firm for the poor.
Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles plays a key role of opening the doors to justice.
The veterans I encounter are usually at a very low point in their lives. They don't have the perseverance at that point in their lives to keep going.
It was one of the first people who took my hand and basically said, no, you're right.
Now, in the end, we submitted her formal claim, and the VA came back to us, and they denied it.
But what was different this time was that she said, no, actually, no, this is wrong.
And so we just charged forward. I requested records from the VA, from her military. Overall, I think I went through 2,000 pages of documents.
It took close to 10 years for this process to happen.
And finally, at long last, the VA gave her everything that she deserves, which comes out to $2,769 a month. And at the end, she got around $69,000 in back pay.
It was finally an affirmation that basically they believed me and said, you are a rape survivor.
Maricela went from being homeless to becoming a homeowner.
I bought my first home. I'm a homeowner, which I never in my life thought that was gonna ever happen.
She is now moving to self-sufficiency.
I'm actually working with veterans, working with homeless veterans find employment. And, I was very inspired to help others. Now I'm currently, I'm the first college graduate in my family.
Our goal at LAFLA is to address all of the needs of the individual client, because that is what gets them out of poverty.
LAFLA is unique in the breadth of services that it provides, in the holistic approach that it takes to clients, and in its ability to fight battles over the long term.
We have the lawyers and we have the social services to address all of their problems.
I didn't have nobody. They were like a family too.
When she first arrived, she had nothing.
They fight for my case not only by talking, by giving me resources to counseling.
She had to talk about her story to psychologists, to doctors, to expert witnesses. We represented her in immigration court, won her asylum.
I can't remember, but I have that big smile. It was unbelievable to myself when the judge said, granted.
And the case wasn't over then. We helped her obtain employment. We helped her with government benefits. Then we helped her get her green card, and eventually we helped her become a U.S. citizen.
We've seen her become self-sufficient.
She gives talks all over the city,
giving hope to other clients that are new to the city.
Although we reach over 70,000 people a year at LAFLA, the numbers continue to grow.
LAFLA simply cannot do it alone. It relies and counts on support from the legal community, from the law firms, from the individual lawyers, and from the businesses in the community.
Without them, we couldn't do half of the work that we do.
LAFLA has made a very big difference.
Her children now have a chance.
I was at the hospital holding my first grandson when he was just born. When I was given to hold, that moment from the ship, that fear came like that conscience was telling me, see, you have a grandchild being born here in America and in a safe place.
I do feel like a warrior finally winning, but to be honest with you, if I didn't have Legal Aid Foundation behind me as a part of my team, as a part of my unit, I wouldn't be here. I don't know if I would have had the courage to finally tell my father and my mother what happened to me. My father broke down in tears. And, he hugged me. And he told me that he loves me and that he was never ashamed of me, and that finally he knew what was wrong with me.
First, I can say a big hug.
I'm very thankful for all the support of Legal Foundation.
I became a citizen last year. That's a big thank you that it's gonna be my first time in my life even to cast that vote. I'm voting this year. Thank you.